I would like to start by commending Deputy Matthews for his stand in the House today. As Deputy Matthews pointed out, the total cost of the banking losses which the Irish people are being forced to pay is €100 billion. 100 billion euros. That's €72,000 for every single household in Ireland of other people's debt. And the reward for bailing out European financial institutions? Cuts, taxes, and most importantly, the real loss of our independence as a sovereign nation. Deputy Matthews' call to share the costs of bailing out the European financial institutions with Europe is correct, morally, politically and economically. The Taoiseach said in the House this morning that Ireland would pay its debts. He said so emphatically. Here's the thing. They're not our debts. Half of the debt is ours. We should pay that. Half of the debt belongs to the private sector. There is absolutely no moral reason for us to pay this. If a man and a woman drove themselves and their family into bankruptcy, not just by paying their own mortgage, but by paying the mortgage of their neighbours, they would be considered fools at best and insane at worst. And yet that is exactly what we are doing. Paying off this debt will drive us into a national insolvency that the government says it is trying to avoid. Now, earlier this week, President Obama spoke of the spirit of the Irish. He spoke of our history in fighting for what is right, our history in fighting foreign powers. I would implore the government to remember this and take that fighting spirit back to Europe. Now, this bill contains many good ideas, and I hope that it will protect existing jobs and help stimulate new jobs. And yet I cannot support it. Why? Because we have no idea what the benefits and costs of the proposed bill are likely to be. We do know that the bill will take nearly €2 billion out of the pensions of private sector workers. But how many people will now stop investing in their pensions? We don't know. How many people will move their deposits out of Irish banks? We don't know. We do know that the bill will protect Irish jobs and will stimulate new jobs. But how many jobs will it protect? We don't know. How many jobs will it help to create? We don't know. How much of people's private pensions will be required to pay for each new job? We don't know. How many tourists is it going to bring to our shores? We don't know. Now, if the management team of a company behaved like this and made investment decisions like this, that company would be bankrupt very, very quickly. The cabinet of the previous government acted in this way. It made critical decisions without bringing the assessments of those decisions to this House for review. As a result, we are bankrupt, and we have lost our independence as a sovereign nation. Is it the intention of the cabinet of the new government to continue acting in this way? I sincerely hope not. This House is constitutionally bound to hold the cabinet to account. That is our role. We can only perform this role if we know the projected costs and benefits of the legislation which the cabinet is asking us to support. Without this information, the TDs of this House should reject this bill. Not because there are bad ideas in the bill, but because we simply do not have the information required to evaluate whether or not this bill represents value for money for the Irish people. Now, of course, it's entirely likely that this bill will be passed. It is assumed that every Fine Gael and every Labour TD will vote for it, even though they have not been given the information required to make the decision. The implications of the bill are wide. Taking €2 billion out of private sector pensions could have profound negative implications on our society for years to come. In this context, I oppose the bill, and I ask my fellow TDs in Labour and Fine Gael to oppose it as well, not because they are bad ideas, but because we do not yet have enough information to know if those ideas are good enough. Thank you.